There is a sound inside you, quiet yet unyielding, soft yet unmistakable. It is not the voice of the world, nor the echo of memory or expectation. It is something deeper, older than time and untouched by noise. It is the sound of the genuine. Howard Thurman did not speak of ideas as ornaments for the intellect. He pointed instead to an inner resonance, a sacred vibration that waits in silence to be recognized. And once you begin to listen, not with your ears, but with your being, you realize that this genuine sound has been speaking all along. Beneath every distraction, behind every ambition, under every layer of identity. But we rarely listen. The world is loud. It tells us who we should be, what we must achieve, how we should look, act, speak, live. And slowly this noise buries the sound of the genuine. We begin to follow rhythms that are not ours. We speak with voices that do not belong to us. And eventually, we forget that there was ever a sound within at all. The genuine is not dramatic. It does not demand attention or compete for approval. It is patient. It does not rush to convince. It waits, like a hidden spring, for the one who dares to be still. And in that stillness, something beautiful happens. A recognition, not an idea, not a theory, but a felt truth that requires no proof. You begin to remember who you are, not in terms of your story, your name, your position, but in terms of presence, pure, undivided presence. To hear the genuine in you is not to add something new, but to subtract what is false. It is not about becoming, but about returning. Returning to the source before the world told you what to be. And in that return, you do not find answers. You become the answer. The one who listens deeply, lives truthfully, not by effort, but by resonance, like a bell that rings only when struck by the hand of what is real.
To live from the sound of the genuine is to live from stillness. And that stillness is not silence as absence, but silence as presence. A full, resonant silence that listens more than it speaks, that sees without judging, that touches the world not with grasping, but with understanding. In this world, many voices will try to guide you. They speak in the language of comparison, ambition, fear. They ask you to hurry, to improve, to prove, to perform. And each time you follow them without awareness, you take another step away from the sound of the genuine. But the genuine does not vanish. It simply waits. Like the quiet pulse under all noise, like the deep ocean beneath all waves. It does not need your attention. It is your attention. And once you begin to hear it, you realize it has no message other than this: you are already whole. You do not need to become extraordinary. You do not need to impress. You do not need to fight your way into being accepted or understood. The genuine knows who you are before you try to define it. It is not the product of your thoughts. It is the awareness in which all thoughts appear. And this awareness, when fully seen, reveals something radical. There is no separation between the one who listens and what is being heard. When you hear the sound of the genuine in you, you are not hearing about yourself, you are hearing as yourself. The deepest self is not a concept, but a listening, an openness, a quiet intimacy with all that is. So the path is not upward, but inward, not toward achievement, but toward surrender. Not in accumulating more knowledge or opinions, but in becoming utterly simple. So simple that there is nothing left to protect, nothing left to defend. And in that sacred vulnerability, in that unguarded presence, the genuine begins to sing again, softly, clearly, without needing to be loud. It sings in your breath, in the light through your window, in the pause between your thoughts. It sings in the feeling of aliveness that cannot be explained. It sings because it is what you are.
The more deeply you listen, the more clearly you realize this sound has no agenda. It does not push you toward a future version of yourself. It does not demand transformation or even improvement. It simply asks you to notice, to be present, to feel the life that is already moving through you, unfiltered. The genuine is not a whisper of your ego. It is the pulse of something ancient and timeless. It does not speak in shoulds and musts. It speaks in silence, in breath, in being. And if you let it, it can become the rhythm by which you live, steady, true, unshakable. To live by the genuine is to stop measuring your life by outcomes. It is to stop chasing validation, applause, or the illusion of control. It is to live from the inside out. To trust that what flows from presence carries more wisdom than what is forced by fear. And that trust changes everything. You may still speak, but your words come from a quieter place. You may still act, but without the restless craving for results. You may still dream, but without abandoning this moment in pursuit of the next. The world may not understand such a life. It may call it impractical, passive, naive. But this is only because the world is used to noise and discomforted by silence. Because silence holds a mirror to all the masks we wear. And the sound of the genuine cannot be manipulated or faked. It exposes what is false, not with violence, but with clarity. And so, in listening, you begin to let go. Let go of the voice that says you must become someone. Let go of the identity that depends on approval. Let go of the belief that your worth is conditional. Each time you listen, something softens, something unwinds, and you return, again and again, to that quiet place within, where there is nothing to perform and nothing to prove. It is here, in this return, that a new kind of power arises, not the power to dominate or convince, but the power to be, fully, freely, authentically. To live from the sound of the genuine is to reclaim your life from all the outer definitions you've inherited. You are no longer shaped by the demands of culture, by the masks handed down by fear or expectation. You are shaped, moment by moment, by the quiet truth rising from within. This is not a truth you must argue for. It is not something to defend. It simply is. Like the stillness beneath a storm, it holds everything without being disturbed. And when you root yourself in it, you begin to live differently. You respond instead of react. You listen instead of assume. You feel instead of perform. In this space, even the simplest act becomes sacred because it comes from presence, not pressure. A glance, a step, a word, each becomes an expression of something whole, something aligned, something real. And isn't that the miracle? That the most profound truths do not need a stage, only stillness. That awakening is not about reaching for the heavens, but about returning to the earth, to the breath, to the quiet knowing that was always there. You are not lost. You are not broken. You are not missing anything. You are simply being invited, gently, insistently, to listen. Not to the loudest voice, not to the voice of fear or ambition, but to the voice that speaks when all others fall silent. The sound of the genuine is not dramatic. It won't promise you fame or certainty or control, but it will give you something greater, the unshakable peace of living in harmony with what is real. And from that place, life becomes less about becoming and more about being, less about chasing and more about allowing. You move not out of restlessness, but from rootedness. You speak not to impress, but to express. And in every step, in every breath, you echo a deeper truth, that the most sacred journey you can make is not outwards, but inwards.